Before I get into the actual material of this chapter, I want to talk about different types of history. For the most part, the chapters in the book and these videos are essentially narrative history, where we kind of say this happened and then that happened and that happened. But some of the chapters that we come across look at more specialized areas of history. We're going to talk a lot about economic history in this chapter, as well as some social history. And in fact, the next a number of the chapters coming up are going to be either the history of regular people, or we have the economic history chapter here. We're going to do some history of science and technology, and some different types of kind of specialized history. And I just want to point that out because all of these are fields of study in history, and they're all different ways to think about history in different areas that you could work in history if you were so interested. But anyway, we're going to talk about the economic revolution that occurs in America in the first half or so of the 19th century. Transportation, communication, manufacturing, technology, new ways of organizing business, and a massive explosion of the population in America will all turn America into an economic superpower. Between 1820 and 1840, the population grows dramatically, as you can see on that chart there. We almost double in these 20 years alone, which is incredibly quick. We are moving west. We are urbanizing, meaning fewer and fewer people are rural and more people are in the cities. The death rate is declining, due primarily to the idea of cleanliness. Starting with Dr. Benjamin Rush in the late 1700s, the idea that we need to sanitize things to prevent the spread of disease has really taken hold. But the birth rate is still high, so when your death rate declines, but your birth rate remains high, you have large population growth. After 1808, the slave population begins to grow slower, and the country is becoming less black, particularly the South, and more white. Life expectancy is shorter for blacks as well. Immigration is not a major factor during this time. You might think of the population growth here as being dependent on immigration, but that's not true. And this is largely due to European wars, which prevent a lot of people from coming over. Of the 13 million Americans in 1830, less than 500,000 were foreign born. So these are primarily people who were born here in America. New York City will go from 312,000 Americans in 1840 to 805,000 by the Civil War in 1860. You can see similar growth there in Philadelphia and Boston. 26% of people in the free states, the non-slave states, live in cities. This is a huge increase in the amount of people living in cities. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Louisville all become significant cities during this time, which also symbolizes our move west. After 1830, the Great Lakes replaced the Mississippi as our major route for northwestern trade. New Orleans declines a little bit as well as in importance. Buffalo, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Chicago all become major cities as well. Between 1840 and 1850, more than 1 million immigrants are going to come over. Remember, before that time, there were about 500,000 immigrants in the whole country. And so to see more than 1 million come in 10 years is really going to change the nature of America. New York, St. Louis, Chicago, and Milwaukee by the Civil War will have more foreign-born citizens than American-born citizens. Very little immigration goes to the South. Though that what does is mostly German and Irish. And by 1860, there's 1.5 million Irish and 1 million German living in America. And so we see this huge wave of immigration here is going to be primarily Irish and German. The Irish, who tend to be very poor when they come over, will stay in the cities and work in factories as a general rule. And more women than men come over. By the way, the Irish come over because of the potato famine. The potato, which is an American crop, originally goes to Ireland because of the staple food for the Irish. A plant disease called a blight will wipe out the potatoes in Ireland, leading to massive starvation. And millions of Irish will leave Ireland. And about 1.5 to 2 million will come to America. German immigrants, who are slightly less poor, tend to come to America, come to one of the major cities, but then move inland. And so we see lots of Germans more in the interior of the country engaged in things like farming. So here we see a breakdown of immigration during the period. As you can see, you have your traditional English immigration, which has always been there, but it's going to be augmented heavily by Irish and German immigration. The Democrats were happy about this because immigrants tend to vote Democrat. Whigs, of course, saw the enemy in the immigrant. as immigrants tended to vote against them. There's also the fight over jobs. There's a long-standing belief among workers that immigrants are stealing their jobs. Protestants also feared a Catholic takeover. Both the Irish and German immigrants of the period tended to be Catholic. And Whigs also claimed that it was going to destroy the culture of America by introducing these foreign cultures into it, very similar to conversations we have today about immigrants. In response to this, we see the rise of secret societies. And these are secret societies were very common at the time, and they might be harmless, but they also might be kind of nasty. The National American Association, which is founded in 1837, will evolve into a political party in 1850. The American Party, they call it, the Native American Party, they call it, which is ironic because by Native American they mean the children of European immigrants, not the way we mean Native American today. In 1850, the nativists unite into something they call the Supreme Order of the Star-Spangled Banner, and they begin demanding laws banning immigration and immigrants and Catholics from elected office, calling for voters to have to take literacy tests, and making it harder to become a citizen. Now, because they are kind of a secret society, they're often called the Know-Nothings. And the idea was when anybody asked you if you were a member of the Native American Party, you were supposed to respond, "I know nothing." And so this is a political party you weren't supposed to admit being a part of. After 1852, they formally become the American Party, which is interesting. How we use this word American, I think, is always an interesting concept because they mean something very specific by American, right? They mean the descendants of English and I guess early French and German immigrants. They don't mean newer German immigrants or the Irish or people like this. So I always encourage you to ask yourself, what does that word American mean? In 1854, the Native American Party did really well. They won office in Pennsylvania and New York. They took control of the state government in Massachusetts, but they disappeared almost immediately afterwards. It was easy to win office by arguing against something and getting everybody scared about something. It's much harder to govern when the only message you have is that those people are bad. And so once they got elected to office, they kind of lost their thunder.